You've got a 13 megapixel smartphone. You've got a gorgeous summer's day outside, so why would you want to shoot indoors? We're going to show you a few tips and tricks to make your Xperia Z work a little bit harder for you outdoors. There are three main kinds of shots that you're going to want to take when you're outdoors. The first one's landscape, the second one is macro, and the third one is portrait. When you're taking a portrait shot outdoors on a beautiful day like this, it's going to be heavily backlit. So you'll want to jump into superior auto mode, toddy if you will. When your subject appears in frame, the phone will put a box around his face. The background won't be in correct exposure, but his face will, and you can take your shot. When you come to look at that, you can see toddy is well exposed in all his glory. If you're shooting macro in low light, we'd say you should jump into superior auto mode. If however you're shooting in abundant lighting like this, then normal mode will do just fine. There are a few tweaks that you'll want to make before you start shooting. The first involves jumping into your settings and making sure you've got a 2-second timer in place. This 2-second timer will allow you to have the steadiest hand possible without having to worry about pressing the camera release button. The other thing that you're going to want to think about when shooting is the focus mode. If we tap on the focus mode icon in settings, we can see there are two that you're really going to want to choose from. Touch to focus or multi-autofocus, whichever you prefer. Multi-autofocus focuses more like a camera, whereas touch to focus is more like a phone. So we're going to touch on that and take our shot. Now that we've got touch to focus set and the 2-second timer in place, we're going to want to tap the screen, keep the phone really still, and take a shot. As you can see when we zoom in, hopefully we've delivered something crisp and clear. If we jump out of that and try again, we can refresh all the settings, touch to focus is in place, reset the 2-second timer, and we can correct for the overexposure of the prior shot by jumping into the settings, dropping the exposure by about 0.3, and then it will actually also speed up the shooting, delivering a clearer shot in the process. We can take a look at the shot, and as you can see, gorgeous sharp foreground, nice blurry background, and a decent overall exposure. If we were in a low light environment, we'd want to shoot our landscape in superior auto so it could play its part in reducing the noise. But we're in a gorgeously lit London, so we can shoot in burst mode, making sure we've got the highest resolution possible, mid. It's taking a whole load of shots, and even if my hand shakes, one should be perfectly clear. Couple that with a super fast shutter speed and minimal post-processing, and you'll probably get a phenomenal shot that you can post-process yourself. So now you've got your macro shot, your landscape shot, and your perfect portrait, it's time to go inside and post-process them on Photoshop Touch. The first thing you're going to want to do if you want to edit pictures on the fly is download Photoshop Touch. We know it costs £2.99, but it's well worth it, allowing you pretty much full Photoshop Elements functionality in your pocket. We've already downloaded it, so you can open up the application. Once it opens up, you can choose the picture that you're going to want to edit. Jump into your photo library. As you can see in our burst mode shooting frenzy, we took loads of burst mode shots, but we're going to start off by editing our portrait shot. So we're going to pick the second portrait shot that we've taken, and immediately we can see toddy's face. The first thing that you're going to want to do is crop your image, and you can do that by jumping into the ampersand icon in the top. Select crop image, and you can very easily drag these points around toddy. So once we've cropped our image, we've selected a teeny tiny portion, but thanks to the 13 megapixel resolution, this should be ample. If we jump into that, we can zoom in with a simple pinch, and as you can see, plenty of detail. Now there are a whole host of effects that we can apply to toddy. What do we want to do? We want to be a little bit artistic, so we can select the comic mode and give him a comic look and feel, and even select the severity of it. As you can see, there is absolutely loads you can do with Photoshop Touch on the go. Well worth it. So that's portraits. Now we can jump out of portraits, don't save, and jump into landscape. We were really lucky with the weather, so you've got a really decent exposure across the display. You can pinch and zoom with 2 fingers, by the way. If we jump into the effects mode though, we can add an HDR look and feel, which is exactly what we want to do to give the photo just that little bit of cool factor. You can choose from one extreme, going a bit crazy into your HDR, really surreal, right through to the other with no HDR whatsoever. We want probably about a 30-35% HDR look, so it's going to look as you can see, just that little bit richer in terms of tonal range, but not too extreme, still realistic. Okay, so that's HDR. There are a whole bunch of other options that you can choose, and that's what we're going to pick for macro. And as you can see, we've got oodles of really nice detail there in a pretty blurry background. We don't want to lose that detail. So what can we do? Well, we can actually get quite cool with this. We can jump into our selection tools, select a circle, make the selection mode plus. We can then select an area of the circle. So we're actually going to select the ring that we focused on. Then we can keep selecting circle elements until we've gone and selected our entire circle. And this is going to take a while. So what we've just done is we've selected all of the background. By selecting the foreground and then inversing it, we can now tweak the background to our heart's content, either adding in a little bit more blur or doing something a little bit more fun, like adding a halftone pattern. As you can see, really awesome stuff and really quick ways you can get really creative with your Sony Xperia Z on the go.